Welcome to USMLE Sarthi. We are committed to empowering IMGs. We're excited to guide you on your match journey. Don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications so you can get notified whenever we add new content. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter for the latest tips and tricks regarding everything USMLE. Now, let's dive into it.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special webinar from USMLE Sarthi. So, as you all know, we have a very packed agenda today, but basically we are going to be talking about tips for match. So we have a lot of experts. They are like senior attendings, like Dr. Sridevi Rajive. There are our students, and there may also be a program director that we want to invite for this webinar. We are going to talk about all about match, whether it's rotations, research, mistakes to avoid, step one, CK kind of issues, and we'll cover all the topics. Just by way of housekeeping, you can put your questions in the chat, so you will all have access to that. Please don't direct questions directly to the panelists. So if it's in the chat, it's everyone can see and we will respond to it. If there are issues that you're having in listening to me or any other panelist, just let us know. And then we will just get started. Before we do that, by the way, I do want to introduce Aditi from our team, Aditi Chabra, who runs the match plan. So all of you who do have questions, so Aditi, why don't you say a couple of words before we kick it off?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, hello everyone. So my name is Aditi Chabra and I am Senior Manager of Operations Match Plan team. So first of all, welcome everyone and thank you so much for joining and taking out some time from your all busy schedule and having just joining this webinar and helping the IMGs. Okay, so I am all here on the chat box. You can just put your questions if you have any questions. So I'm there to help. We have Kuheli from our team also. So we both will be handling all your queries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aditi. So I do want to welcome especially Dr. Sridevi Rajive, who is now an attending. So maybe Sridevi, if you could say a couple of words, and then when we come to your turn, obviously extensive tips that you can give.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pawan, for the opportunity. And, just a few words, this whole idea of how to apply for residency has been always a daunting task for those who are aspiring to really pursue residency training in the United States. So, unlike a lot of other specialties, you actually need guidance to really know what the steps are and really be empowered with data and knowledge and planning to really succeed. And one real way that I prepared myself, and this is going back 8 years, was actually going through this process in a step-by-step manner. And I am probably one of Sarthi's, one of the older alumni. So I'm very happy to be here. And I am someone who's been a part of this journey. I met Pawan maybe 8 years ago, and we talked about a plan. I went through residency and fellowship, and now I'm like 2 years into my attending hood at the most amazing place I can imagine. So all that came with planning, the right guidance, strategy, and the hard work that you have to put in. So we are really excited to put this together for you, from people who have gone through it, people who have learned from our mistakes, including me. We've all learned from our mistakes, and we try to help the next generation to be hopefully even more successful than we have been.
Thank you, Sridevi. All right, so without further ado, let us kick it off. And the first speaker is Arundhati Sawant. She is a current math student, very, very passionate. So Arundhati, why don't you take it over, introduce yourself, and then go from there.
Thank you, Pawan sir. Good morning, everybody. My name is Arundhati Sawant, and I'm currently working as a clinical researcher at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And I'm one of the Sarthi students for Match this year, and I'm really glad to be here helping all of you and guiding some points. So I will be talking a bit about ECFMG certification and alternate pathways to practice medicine in the US. All right. So let's talk about ECFMG certification. So what is ECFMG? ECFMG is the Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates. What this means is if you have completed medical school or are a student in a medical school outside of US, ECFMG will act as a central governing body or a dean's office for you within the United States if you plan to apply for residency here. What are the requirements of ECFMG certification? The key points here are the basic is the USMLE exam, which is the medical licensing exam set by the United States for all the students applying for residency. When we talk about USMLE exams, there are two steps, step 1 and step 2 CK, which is mandatory to take and pass if you need to apply for ECFMG certification. I will be talking a bit about the USMLE step 1 and step 2 CK preparation as well here. Step 1 is the basic science exam, which is the first step generally that all the IMGs take. And even the medical students here take. So this covers the subjects in your first and second year MBBS, and these are the basic science subjects. Generally, there are a lot of resources commercially available for step 1 preparation, and the things that most of the IMGs use is UFAP, which is UWorld, a commercially available QBank for the step 1 preparation, and we have First Aid, which is a book, has all the facts required for the exam, and the Pathoma book. These are some of the resources that you may use. Also, there are many other resources that are freely available that you may help for the preparation. The other thing is the step 2 CK exam. As the name suggests, it is the clinical knowledge exam, and this generally tests your clinical subjects, which are generally covered in the 3rd and the 4th year of MBBS or medical school. Internal medicine is one of the most important subjects in this exam, while there are others as well, like pediatrics, OBGYN, surgery, and many other subjects. Similarly, for step 1, you have to have a QBank, that is a UWorld QBank for this preparation as well. The step 1 score was recently made pass and fail. That means you just need to pass this exam and there will be no numerical score given to you. And that has made the step 2 CK exam even more important because that is the only exam in the USMLE required for certification that has a numerical score. So it has become very important for IMGs especially to have a good score on the step 2 CK exam if you are planning for a competitive specialty here in the US. The other step that you need to complete after this is your communication skills. And the exam that is recently approved is the Occupational English Test, the OET exam. And this demonstrates your English communication proficiency, and it is approved and required for the ECFMG certification. Once you pass all these exams, you have to choose a clinical pathway when mentioned on the ECFMG website, which applies to you to apply for certification. Once you take these pathways, you are ECFMG certified. Now, once you are ECFMG certified, the ECFMG helps you to verify your credentials as well. It will get in touch with your medical school in your home country to verify your credentials. For example, your medical school transcripts, your degree, and your internship completion certificate in order to give you the certificate. Now, since it verifies the degree, you need to be a graduate in order to apply for an ECFMG certificate. You cannot be a medical student. So you can take the exams while you are a medical student, but in order to apply for certification, you need to graduate from your medical school. And that's what this ECFMG does for you. And to complete all these things, the ECFMG sets a time limit. From the day you pass your first exam, any step, you can take in any order. But the day you pass your first USMLE exam, from that day, a general time period of 7 years is mentioned on the ECFMG to complete all the steps to maintain a valid ECFMG certification. So now we are talking about the ECFMG certificate. Why do you need to get certified? Let's see. So ECFMG certification gives you a standardized assessment of your medical education from any medical school all over the world. It is also the certification which makes you eligible to apply for residency in the US in your desired specialty. It is a quality assurance of your level of your medical education for program directors and the US hospitals here in the US. So if you have completed medical education from any hospital or any university across the world outside of US, the ECFMG is your dean's office, which will assure your quality to the US program directors and the US hospitals, which is as par with the American system. The next important thing is if you apply for step 3, which is the last exam of the USMLE series, you need to have a valid ECFMG certificate. Even if you need to apply for the exam, you need a valid certificate. Why do we need step 3? Step 3 is required for full licensure to practice medicine in the US. And this is an important last step. Once you enter into residency, you can take this step or you can take it before entering. But you need a valid ECFMG certificate in order to apply for step 3. And lastly, once you have this certification, it means that your medical school verification is complete and you don't need to do it again. And it assures the American system that your medical school is at par with the American system and it has been verified. And lastly, it gives you a pathway to practice medicine in the US. Now let's talk about the alternate pathways to practice medicine. Why are we talking about alternate pathways all of a sudden? Let's see. It is shown in this graph of physician shortage, which is a new thing in the US. Basically, it started a couple of years ago and it has been grown since. As this graph shows, the demand is much more than the physician supply, and this gap has created a shortage of physicians all over the US. To meet this shortage, there are alternate pathways that are approving currently. To meet this shortage, you can practice medicine in the US. Let's see how. The first one is the fellowship pathway. Now, there are a number of fellowships that are ACGMA accredited or non-ACGMA accredited that you can apply within the US if you have completed a home country residency. We will be happy to provide more information on this if you have more questions. The other pathway is the physician assistant pathway. Now, this is a totally separate pathway from the USMLE, where you go to the US universities, you apply for a physician assistant degree. And once you get this physician assistant certification, you can assist physicians in their practice as providers and see patients. And the last pathway that I'm going to talk about, and everyone is talking about nowadays, is the IMG temporary license pathway. And this is the pathway where you need to complete all your USMLE steps, get ECFMG certified, preferably complete a step 3 as well, and apply for a temporary license in the US. Now, all the states in the US have their own guidelines. Some of them have approved or passed the guidelines, and some of the other states are in the process of doing so. Depending on your choice of location, geographically, you can choose a state and you can, if you meet their requirements, you can apply for the temporary license in that state. What this will help you is this will help you to practice medicine as a mid-level provider, assisting an advanced level provider, or practice medicine under supervision, as we say, in the US within that state only. But for this as well, you need to have a valid ECFMG certificate. Now, as this map shows, we have different states within the US who have already passed these requirements, and they have already passed the bill. They have even cut the requirements which are required for residency in the home country. Many of them, they don't need a home country residency as well. So what you can do is to have a state know the state line guidelines. You can go on that state's medical board website. For example, if you can see Tennessee here, it has passed the bill. If you need to know what are the guidelines, you can go to Tennessee Medical Board website, and you can go to the temporary license for IMG page to know their requirements and their process of application for the temporary license. If you need more information about this, we will be very happy to answer any of your questions that you may have. Thank you. In addition to this, I will be very happy to talk to you about a project that is Teen Heal. It is a venture started by the USMLE Sarthi, and it is a non-profit organization with a global involvement where we have physicians and IMGs, even high schoolers from US as well as all over the world involved in this project. And it is a project where we are trying to work towards social media addiction and substance abuse in high schoolers and teens. So this is a great project started by or backed by the USMLE Sarthi, and we are involved in this to make a better tomorrow for kids. And you can contribute from your side, and we will be happy to provide guidance for publications. We are having a very big global webinar in April. You are most welcome to join the webinar. And even if you want to contribute, please get in touch with us and we will be happy to guide. I will be happy to answer any of the questions at the end of the seminar. Please stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Arundhati. This is great, excellent. And I do want to share a couple of things like she said. So in case you want to know more about the alternate pathway, let me share this page. And I think, Kuheli, you can also put the link in the chat so that everyone can... So go to this page on our website for which Kuheli is gonna, or Aditi, one of you can share the link. So what we have done here is for all the states where there is an alternate pathway, we have more information. We absolutely can help you in Arizona and Florida because we have our team there and we know a great bit of detail about these two states. For the other states, we are still finding out, but each state, if you go click here, you will see, like Arundhati said, link to the state board and all of that. And if you need that help, we can absolutely help you there. Now, the other thing which she mentioned was on Teen Heal. So Teen Heal, again, the website is teenheal.org. It's a non-profit. A lot of IMGs not only want to help others, community give back, but frankly, they also need to show volunteering as key part of their portfolio when it comes to ERAs and when it comes to discussions during the interview. So that was also one of the reasons that we are helping IMG. So our first project, like you mentioned, is on social media addiction. We've been doing surveys, we've been gathering data. The next up is going to be a webinar, a global webinar in April. So if you are interested, if you go to the website under volunteering, you will be able to see there is a WhatsApp group. You can join that. Arundhati is actually leading it. So you can, then get involved. So that's that. Let me take a couple of questions on this alternate pathway that have come up. Like I said, go to this website. You will see alternate pathways for various states. Which fellowships are in alternate pathway? We will have one of our speakers later today who's directly getting into a fellowship. Now, directly getting into a fellowship, but this is not alternate pathway, right? So we did have a complete webinar on alternate pathways 2 weeks ago. It is on YouTube, so you can see what all entails to get into this alternate pathway. It is to a question, are surgical specialties eligible? Well, yes, they are eligible, but there is a lot of things you need to be able to do. Most of our surgery students who have home country residency, etc., have typically gone in with the the preliminary year path. Okay, so are the fellowships, the ACGME direct fellowships, non-ACGME, are they paid? The answer is yes, they are paid. We will have a student who just matched into heart failure fellowship, so he can talk about more about his fellowship journey. So with that, thank you, Arundhati, and we will move on now to the next speaker, which is incidentally Dr. Sridevi, Dr. Sridevi Rajiv. So Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. So
Absolutely.
welcome. And like she said, she's been associated with Sarthi for like, I don't know, 8, 10 years. One of the very passionate IMGs. And now she's in a position to mentor others as an attending. So all yours, Sridevi.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I have a little bit of difficulty in sharing my screen, but I will try to make it work. I got a whole new setup and that's giving me some problems. But anyway, please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I don't think I'm sharing the right screen though.
Oh, you did. Yeah, it was a PowerPoint that was open.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yes.
So you are seeing the right. Okay, great.
Yes.
Awesome. So good morning, everyone.
Probably get into a screen, the slideshow mode. Maybe that'll help.
That's a problem. When I go into the slideshow mode,
I see.
I feel like I'm not able to advance the slides, but I'll give it a try. Let's see.
Okay, well, yeah, I think
Oh,
now.
perfect. I'm able to do it. Never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Okay, so actually, then I can't control the other screen. I apologize for the confusion.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Let's do it this way. Yes. So good morning to those who are in the US and good evening for all those who are joining from other parts of the world. My name is Sridevi Rajiv, and I'm an assistant professor at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York City, where I'm practicing as an oncologist who focuses on multiple myeloma and cellular therapy. So Pawan and the team have already given me a very kind introduction, but I will be going into my journey, but as a brief sort of introduction, I did my medical school. So I was born, raised in my medical school in Kerala, and I did my medical school also in Kerala, did my internal medicine residency and fellowship at the ICANN School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, New York City. So I've been in New York for almost all my training, residency, fellowship, and now an attending job at the world's best cancer center, which I'm very, very grateful to all the elements in my life to bring it together for. So a lot of this journey happened with obviously great hard work, but again, a lot of guidance and planning, which is what we are hoping we all can do for all those who are aspiring. Now, Arundhati already went into a lot of elements. This is actually something that I had given to another set of students back in my medical school in Kerala. So I'll skip over some of the slides because I'm not going to rehash everything that she has said. She's done an excellent job at it. But again, just to go into some basics for those who are still listening, one thing I want a lot of people to be clear is what exactly does the word MD and DM mean? And this is coming from a very personal standpoint because my mom always keeps asking, you are triple board certified. Like in India, you would have had 2 DMs, but then why are you still only having MD at the last of your name? She keeps asking me this, but that's why I just put it together. In the US, the MD degree is granted after medical school. In comparison to India, what we get is, or in other countries, it might be MD, but those who are in the colonial rule, Australia, the UK, India, it's all MBBS. Residency training in the US typically gets you, a residency completion, and then you take a board certification. And then so you become board certified and you completed residency training, but you do not typically get a degree afterwards, like to add after your name, which is very typical in India. And the equivalent of that is MD, MS, and DNB. Fellowship, which is the equivalent of DM and MCH, is what we pursue. It's not mandatory. It's optional for those who are really passionate about probably pursuing one path. But the one thing that you absolutely need, is a good way for practicing as a licensed physician is residency training. So that Arundhati had covered. So this again, essential element, she went through it in detail. I am going to skip, but my topic is specialty selection and how to plan. And this is so important. Like this is not something that I personally had a lot of guidance with because truth be told, 10 years back, when I started thinking about it, and you may see this as a phenomenon. I keep joking it to all my friends who are IMGs. You probably don't see a lot of IMGs who are that passionate about residency training in the United States from Kerala. It's just not a thing. There are not that many people. So I really did not have a lot of people to look up to or for guidance. And even within my medical school, a lot of people who went in were people who had family in the US. So that is what pivoted me to trusting to Google and doing my own research all the way back when I was a third year. I started looking into it because I started reading books and I realized that a lot of these books were authored in the US. And I did have my father's friends who were in the United States. And then I figured that this is a place that I really want to be. So started looking into it. And I happened to talk to a friend who was actually going through an interview match. Again, met them incidentally through another friend. And they, if Pavan remembers, was the first batch of whole of Sarthi, and he's a very extremely successful cardiologist right now. He's a year above me, and he's the one who actually came and told me we're all in the same boat. I also did not have guidance. He incidentally happened, and Paul, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so at that time, Pawan, if I'm not mistaken, it was only Sarthi was a fledgling institution at the time, and it was mock interviews. There was no one-to-one mentoring. It was us having a discussion with Pawan. We went on to have mock interviews, and that was it. That's how far back we go. So, but that talk with Pawan, and this is, he did not ask me to say any of this. This is coming from me. It really helped put a lot of things in perspective. And one thing that really helped me, which I put in here, is something called as planning backwards. Now, planning backwards, if you look at it, this is something which is always my approach to my MBBS exams. You know the date of your exam. You have to keep a buffer for revision if you can. And then you plan backwards how you can. It's the same way that you have to approach how to go for residency. A very common pitfall I see, and this is something that I've tried to tell students as well, is that, and this is real, right? The Indian system is not easy. It's extremely hard. So you go through the system, and while you're trying to get your residency into India, you then start of having a backup plan, like, okay, should I try the UK or the US? Probably not the right approach when it comes to the US, because you're ending up losing valuable time. You can do that for UK. You can do that for the Middle East. You can do that potentially for Australia, because I have friends and classmates all over. But the ones who went to Europe and other places were the ones who did not or were not able to plan appropriately for US, and they ended up losing a few years, and then they could not match. So if there are medical students who are listening to this, please try to go into this all in. This is a journey, because time really matters. And that's why I said planning matters. So first of all, you really have to know which is the year that you're going to graduate. Hypothetically, if you're graduating this year and you really don't want to lose so much time, and you're planning to at least start residency next year, that really means that you really have to have everything together by September of this year. The cycle only runs once a year. There's not multiple application cycles. And that's very important to know. This, again, was something that I found. Nobody told me. I had to read and understand, but it's only once a year. It's September. So you really have to have all your ducks in a row, all of which Arundhati went through and all of which the other panelists are going to go through. All of those ducks should be ready to go by September, if you want to start training the next year, that is. So I've illustrated an example here. Match 2026 means you start residency training in July 2026. But since the application cycle starts in September 2025, every single one of your application component ideally must be ready by September 2025. Do we have successful candidates who do not have all the components ready by September? Of course we do. But please understand that they are the exception. They're not the rule. So if you heard about a friend or two who did not have one or two components in by September, they might have had other factors that really helped them be successful. But you should not be taking that as a sort of benchmark. You should always try to have all the components in and ready by September, right? And plan your exams in such a way that gives you enough time for the results to come. I haven't taken these exams in many years now, but then this is from my memory. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Step 1 and CK results came around 3.5 weeks later. And back in my time, we had Step 2 CS, which was one of the most harrowing experiences one had to go through. And that took 3 months to come. So back when I started planning, I was like, okay, I'm graduating, and I'll show you my timeline. I'm graduating this year. I have to take Step 1. And then A lot of us went on to take step 2 CS before to allow that 3 months to pass so that we are all ready by September. So that's how you always have to plan backwards. Otherwise, it's probably not going to happen. And if you plan your CK exam in such a way, and I've had students who do that, they wait till the last minute because CK has become such high stakes now that they took away the numerical scoring of step 1, they delay to the last minute. They take till probably end of August or early September for their CK, which doesn't give them enough time to be ECFMG certified. And then come application time in September, the ECFMG certification has not come in, your application doesn't go in, and then it's a little bit of anxiety provoking, right? So always try to plan huge chunks of time and add buffers. Life happens to you. There can be life events happening, there can be sickness happening, preparation happening, right? So always try to have a buffer for all this and have a timeline ready. Nobody knows your schedule better than you. So always be ready. And the same goes for rotations as well. You can reach out there. And now, the time when I started, there were hardly any, resources except write to people or write to universities to please take us in. There were no other resources. That's what a lot of us did. But there are now other resources. So plan your rotations also in advance. A lot of folks, including some of my classmates, I was shocked to hear, were really planned like 1 to 2 years in advance so that they have everything planned ahead. So, like I said, a lot of this journey, you have to be all in, completely all in, so that you can take it forward. And the other thing which I would add is that if you have the opportunity to do research projects, even if it is very small, but if it gets you somewhere and that's a line item in your CV, you should do it. Everything adds on to your experience. Everything adds on to your CV. Every item is something you can bring up in an interview and excel at. So be super prepared. Now, selection of specialty. Now, this is a very nuanced discussion because there are so many elements to it. But if I just try to capture the highlights, first of all, I would honestly say it has to be what you're interested in, right? It shouldn't be like an external pressure from your family because, your cousin is a cardiologist, so you go and become a cardiologist. What if you don't have any interest in cardiology based on your medical school experience? No, it should be an interest because you are going to spend the rest 30 years of your life in this specialty, right? And so I went into oncology because I have a very personal story. I lost a very dear family member to cancer when I was the age of 15. So in my mind, it was very ingrained that this is what I want to do, which is helpful in a way. But I do know some classmates of mine who, based on what their friends, that is us, we were doing, they tried to do oncology research, absolutely did not enjoy it, and then decided to switch. And then they ended up not applying for fellowship match. The same way I had friends who thought they would do pediatrics, when we were applying for residency, because they thought that their scores were not probably in the internal medicine category, but then, and this is a real story, it's my actual classmate. She started pediatrics, did not like it, did a lot of research, reapplied, and now she's finishing internal medicine residency years later. So again, interest matters. But again, that brings to the next question, practical considerations. Scores are a major factor, which is why you should be trying your best possible to really have the scores for the specialty that you desire. And then, if you're really, really focused for an American medical graduate or AMG dominant specialties like dermatology, surgery, orthopedics, neurosurgery, etc., it's not impossible. For every single specialty listed, I know at least one IMG in my own age group who I've seen succeed. But again, remember, that's the exception, and they worked extremely hard for it. And you can get it done with planned rotations, planned research, and getting the right LORs and really applying and putting yourself out there. It's all possible. And finally, the financial considerations, right? These AMG dominant specialties need a longer time commitment. So you really have to be all in for that. Like the friend of mine who actually matched into general surgery extremely hard 8 years ago, he set aside an extra year, did an extra year of research, rotated at all surgery hospitals as possible. It was next to impossible, but then he made it. But then that's because he set aside and surgery was his passion and he did it. So these are some of the things that you have to be aware of. And don't let your scores necessarily guide you. Do it the other way. Think of a specialty, imagine yourself in it, and try your best to work your scores and your profile towards it. So don't get in the flow of, I'll go where the journey takes me. This is your journey. You are the CEO of your life. You just have to take control of what you can, right? So this is something that all of you might have heard about, modifiable and non-modifiable, or at least this is how I see factors. So non-modifiable, years of graduation and scores if completed. Modifiable, if that's not been completed, are your scores, your year of graduation, research experience, the strength of LORs, which means, how were you during that rotation? How did your mentor find you? And finally, the breadth of experience, clinical and volunteer, which Pawan had alluded to before. Just to give you guys like a little bit of taste, my journey, I can actually show you the next slide. Yeah. My journey, 2013, I was a third graduating to fourth year medical student. I decided to pursue residency. As a lot of South Indian parents would be, my parents were very, very skeptic of me pursuing this path alone, but I had their support, but they were really concerned. I still persisted. 2014, right before my intern year, I started gathering study materials, extensively read online about experiences, application projects, deadlines. But the one thing I did not have guidance was I did not schedule rotations, right? I thought just preparing for steps was enough, and then I will be in time able to find rotations because I had no one to guide me. Anyway, so I studied during my intern year, graduated in 2015 with around 4 months of prep time. I took step one. And then I applied for my visa. Again, if I had known, I would have applied for my US visa before. Didn't know. So I applied for my US visa, got it, and set up a few rotations from. I was in the process of setting up some rotations, which I finally got in April, July, and August. And in the meantime, I came to the US, gave my step 2 CS and CK. Remember, if you look at the timelines I told about, I gave CS in March so that I would have results at least by June, July. And I took my CK in June so that I would have my results by July and I'd be ECFMG certified by August, keeping me on track for September. In late August, after a lot of reaching out, I got one interview for a research position, which I thankfully got. In September, I applied and then took step 3 and then finally matched. So the pitfall, which I did mention before, that I did not do electives because I did not plan ahead enough. Neither did I have a visa at the time. But electives are not make or break. You can still get it done without. So transparently, what were my strengths? From what I see, my weaknesses, and what would I have done differently? My strengths was that I applied within a year of graduation, had good step scores. I had research in medical school, which my professor was very supportive, did some case reports. I had 4 case reports by the time I graduated, all published. And my LORs were very good, which were told to me during interviews. I didn't know I had waived my right to see them, but you put in all your effort and they turned out good. And I had a volunteering research position. My weaknesses were all my rotations were observerships, but then as you can see, I was able to turn them into a strength by just putting it all in. And your letter is what matters. It's not always, you can still do an elective and get a generic letter. Rather, if you do give it your all, you can still get a good letter. What would I do differently? I would plan ahead, get as many electives as I can. And nowadays I have students who reach out to me who are coming with even stronger research profiles based on some of the exposures that they've had. So that is an approach that I would take. Yeah, so I think I have a few more slides, but then that's out of the scope for today's talk. But I hope that covered a little bit of how to plan ahead. It's always have a timeline, plan backwards, and when thinking of a specialty, be mindful and not really, as much as possible, keeping your interests, practicalities, and financial considerations.
Well, thank you very much. But I'll be remiss if I don't mention one thing from 8 years ago. She is still the only student that could turn around personal statement from scratch in one night. So she was the one, and it is by far the best personal statement I've seen. So don't even try that. She is an avid writer. She managed to do something which I have not seen done ever since then. Personal statement in one night, I do not recommend. I don't know how you did it, but absolutely you are a very good example that yes, things can be done. There are plans, but then there are other things that come in the way. Good or
Absolutely. Again, for transparency, other things what came in the way was my parents wanted me to get married, and I'm like, this is not the right time. But I was in the US, but they wanted me to meet a couple of people. So in the midst of all that, I couldn't have. But as Pawan said, I'm very grateful that as from a very young age, I used to, write poetry and write well. So that personal statement was not a big anxiety on my mind. So then I just sat down, I thought of what I wanted, and I wrote and I sent it to Pawan, and he gave me feedback. And yeah, I'm shocked you still remember.
Yeah. So yeah, but I'll not forget that one 2 hour night stretch that you did. But yeah, absolutely, I think you are a role model to other IMGs. You really your passion and commitment you are a living example of what an IMG can achieve.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sridevi, and again, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And let's move on. So the next speaker is Raymond. So Raymond, welcome. Why don't you give us a bit of an introduction about yourself and then take it away?
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much, Pavan sir, for inviting me for this session. And my name is Raymond Howard, and I applied for this math season, and I'm hoping everything goes well. So today my topic is on the importance, the impact of step three when it comes to the application process. And so the step three exam is always taken usually after step one, step two CK, and OET by most of the students. And the goal of this exam is to practice independently without the assistance or without the supervision of a physician. But what we have noticed is that the program directors often overlook into whether the candidate has taken step three or not. Because step three, if a candidate has completed, that would decrease the burden the residency program has to focus for the step three during the course of their residency. So the candidate can focus more on their research, or they can focus more on their clinical experience, which is something most of the programs look for. And it's very good for those who have a low step score in step two, or if they've taken previously the step one and it's low, it gives a graphical representation of how the improvement has taken place in step three. It's very important for those who have a long year of graduation, or who has failed on multiple attempts, who want to strengthen the application. Even though everything fits perfectly for them, it can be an extra edge which can help their CV to stand out. And what I've seen is that the programs look for growth and resilience. These are the two qualities that they predominantly look for. And taking step three proves it, because it's a 2 day exam, and it's good, and completing it preferably on time is very important. It's very important to understand that before the application season, if we can get the results of step three, that can be a strong benefit for the application. Because when the programs open and they see that the student has completed step three and it's passed with the scores, that tells a lot about the student. It also tells that the student can quickly adapt as well as handle their responsibilities very efficiently. Although the step three helps for IMGs get to make them eligible for H1B visa application, which is the predominant reason why a lot of IMGs will take place, because few programs who are there giving IMGs H1B, they would prefer a lot of candidates to complete the step three. And besides, what I've seen is that it can also reduce the stress during residency. It can help the candidate to focus more on their clinical training. Now, when we come to the step three preparations, the ideal time to take step three is always just after step two. Although most of them will be tired, and it's okay to take maybe 3 to 6 weeks of break, it's always recommended to start it immediately, which would really help. And again, the contribution is person to person basis. Few of them can contribute just 2 hours a day for 3 months and clear this exam, and few of them have to take even 6 hours a day for 3 months to cover it. So that depends on everybody's capability, which will surely reflect based on their experiences with both step 1 and step 2 CK. So they can plan very well for the step 3 exam. And when it comes to the what should we use for step 3, most of them just stick with completing their U World MCQs. And since step 3 is a 2-day exam, there's both multiple choice question as well as CCS, which is computer based case simulations. Completing them on time and making a timetable where you complete both the blocks as well as completing the CCS cases, which I believe is close to 184 or 185 CCS cases, and trying to revise the errors of both the CCS as well as the step 3 would really help in to complete and get a really good score. And ultimately, weeks before the exam, it's always recommended to take the self-assessment, such as which is there for both UWorld as well as NBME, where the candidates can have a rough idea whether they can clear step 3 or whether they need more revision and focus. And what I've seen is few candidates, although they are most of the candidates who have completed step 2 will be in some phase of step 3, but the planning should be like it should be preferably before the application process, which a lot of them feels it to be challenging because there's going to be rotations, or there could be research or some other volunteering activities which the candidate is doing, or perhaps they are working, and balancing all of these would be quite challenging. But that is a place where I believe that Sarthi is really going to help out, because what I've noticed is that there are different kinds of rotations, and few rotations focus more on the clinical output, the hours, and few of them are more flexible. And the mentorship that is provided by the Sarthi can help everybody to understand what is best for them, because mentors will be assigned, and these mentors are going to help us to find, based on our personal preferences and our capability, what is best for us at that period of time. So, in a nutshell, if we see what step 3 is for the program directors, it is going to, in my opinion, it's going to reduce the focus more on step 3 to be done on a later date. And usually, the program directors see that residents will focus more on their training as well as on their fellowship applications, like by doing more research works, and it increases the chance of them to focus on their board certifications, which will be done at the end of the third year, so that the program directors can see that the students or the residents will have a more balance, and they won't be they, of course, residency is going to be very stressful, but they see as per their experiences, they have seen that there's going to be a more balance and there's more focus. So the way how I see Sarthi also helps is, especially when it comes to the interviews, right? It's about the mock interviews, that it's not about just telling what is how to answer a question, but to bridge the gap. Like, for example, I as a person has a way which I like to express myself, which is unique, more or less, compared to a lot of people. But the way I've seen is that Southie, the team, they really help me out, especially the mock interviews. They help me out to bring it, bring myself in words so that I can effectively write it in my CV. I can effectively communicate during my interviews. And the step 3, of course, the way how to balance step 3 with rotations, research. We are provided mentors, and a good timetable can be made. And that's how South is definitely going to help when it comes to the overall application process. And step 3 is very important because, although step 3 is, I mean, the whole system is predominantly made in such a way that AMGs should go through the process very smoothly. But what I've seen is that, since as international medical graduates, to stand out, to show that we are more or less capable to take care of the US patients, step 3 can show a promise, a significance that the particular individual is more capable and less likely to make errors, which is what the whole attendees are really worried about. Because if something happens, the attendees are to be blamed more than the resident. So when someone completes step 3 and they have a pretty good score, or they have shown consistent improvement, the residency program really appreciates them. So thank you so much, Dr. Pawan sir,
Thank you very much, Raymond. Appreciate quite a bit of insights into step 3. So as you said, step 3 can be a game changer for you. Let me take a few questions that I'm seeing, and then we'll move on to the next speaker. So is 5-year YOG a red flag? So as Dr. Rajiv said, YOG is something you cannot control. However, it is a soft filter. If you have done home country residency, or if you have been clinically very active, you have high scores and research, then I think 5-year YOG is not an issue. In fact, we just had a 20-year-old YOG from India visa seeking except a pre-match. So we've had a lot of students, as you can imagine, during this time of the year accepting pre-matches also. So it's not that with a 5-year YOG you cannot match. It is absolutely possible to match. So whether it's old YOG, 5-year YOG, there are other factors that come in play. In fact, if you go to our website, and maybe Kuheli, there is a page on our match results that you can see, where you can see some old YOGs and things like that. And maybe I will show you that in a minute. In fact, I wanted to show you about our classes as well. So let me just share my screen as I move on. So a lot of students, have asked us, how exactly do we help? So there is a series of things that if you join our match plans, for example, there are live classes. So if you go to this page here, and Kuheli, maybe you can share the link. We have classes in all aspects of the match, whether it is your interview preparation that Raymond just spoke about, or there are other classes as we start the season, getting started, about letters of recommendation that Dr. Rajiv spoke about, ERAS CV, personal statement, how to use AI. So classes on all aspects of the match, and you can actually go to this page and watch some trailers if you are interested. So you can see the classes that we have. And what I was going to talk about was this match results page on the website. Here you can see, if you click on each one of those, this is from last season, so not for this season, of course. You will see old YOGs, you will see 20-year YOGs, you will see recent graduates. So, many of them have given a blog or an interview. So if you go to this page, I think that will help you understand what an old YOG does to match, right? Or someone with any other flag. The other thing here I wanted to point out is, how to work with us. So if you are coming to us for match, there are 2 or 3 plans. So you can go to our match plan page, Residency Match 2026, Platinum, Gold, Bronze. So you will be able to see the differences between the plans and how each plan can help you. In fact, if you want, and if you are applying for the match this season, you can set up a profile review with me, and we'll go over what you need to do. One last question thing, for those of you who are looking for a combination of rotations and research, so that option is also there. So you can combine rotations, research, and our match plan. We do have a lot of now rotations, both inpatient setting, outpatient setting, again, depending on which location you want, which city, state, and which specialty. So we can help you with that as well. One last question before I move on to the next speaker. Timeline for 2026 match, I think someone asked. So if you are applying for September 2025, as Dr. Rajiv said, now would be the time to at least take step 1. Then you want to have 2 or 3 months at least for CK. CK is the game changer. It can change everything for you with a high CK score. But like she said, work backwards. Middle of September, if you have to apply, that means you need ECFMG certification middle of September, which means OET, CK, and step 1 should be done primarily, all of that by early August. Also leave about 3 months for US clinical experience. Research, of course, like I said, can be done online also. So if you are applying in September of 25, now would be the time to take step 1 so that you have enough time for CK for 3 rotations and OET and certification. But rest of it, we can definitely discuss. Kuheli can send a link for a profile review. So Kuheli, if you can send a profile review link, so you can all book reviews with us. We'll go over your specific kind of situation. All right, with that, let's move on. So our next speaker is going to be Dr. Amruta Joshi, and she's going to talk about mistakes to avoid. So welcome, Amruta. Why don't you introduce yourself and then go from there?
Okay, hi everyone, and thank you, Pawan sir, for this opportunity to talk a little bit about my journey and also help the potential IMGs to apply. So, I would like to start as early as possible, not taking much time. So, I'm going to be saying some 5 common mistakes that IMGs make in the process of residency match. I'll be going on by number 1, and then I'll talk about what mistake and what solutions can be implemented in order to undertake those mistakes. So the first common mistake that most IMGs, including myself, what I think I made was applying narrowly and not applying broadly to specialties and geographical locations. So the solution for that would be to apply to broad specialties. I know most of IMGs are very focused on internal medicine, and now we know that internal medicine has become very competitive. It's really hard to get interviews. So I would say that if you are interested in internal medicine, also try to consider specialties like family medicine, emergency medicine, and pediatrics as well, so that when you apply, you have like a good chance of getting interviews from those specialties as well, and you don't go unmatched in that season. Also, restricting yourself to a specific geographical location also sometimes reduces your chances of getting interviews. So apply broadly, apply to newer programs, apply to programs that are community-based, small programs. So having that kind of outlook would also increase the chances of getting you interviews. And the second most common mistake that a lot of IMGs make is having a not having a very strong personal statement. So as most of our panelists just said, that having a good personal statement is something that can really change your entire application. It can also address certain red flags that you may have, like there were questions regarding old year of graduation, having attempts on your steps. So having that kind of a strong personal statement with real life experiences and talking about what you learned from those experiences, and talking about your hobbies, and also talking about what you are as a person is something that should be included in the personal statement. So I had this review of my personal statement from one of the panelists here, and they gave me very good input, and I used all those inputs, and then I rewrote my personal statement, and I think that really changed a lot for me. So I believe that having a strong personal statement, talking about yourself, and also one thing, like not using a lot of AI nowadays. So people use AI to write personal statements. I recommend not doing that. Try to use AI, but then use your own language, use your own experiences to modify and paraphrase those things. Third most common mistake is not researching programs thoroughly. So that is what I had noticed, that we do rely on certain data that is present on the internet regarding programs. So I would recommend using the program official website to look into the program requirements and then applying accordingly, because the requirements on the website, on the program's website, are like most updated and recent one, and not relying on other sources. So go to the website, check what is their cutoff for year of graduation, their score cutoffs, visa sponsorships, and things like that. So that is something that I think every IMG should do. You can also, like, if you are interested in a certain program, like before applying, you can also go to their website, look at the faculty, what kind of backgrounds do they have, and then like channelize your rotations accordingly, channelize your research accordingly. Because if you are interested in a certain program and you see that this program has a lot of research in it, so you can also plan a research-based rotation along with electives. So you can do all those things. You can work backwards as well. Apart from that, fourth mistake that a lot of IMGs they make is getting very generic LORs. So, um, as we have already heard in like previous speakers also mentioned that having a good LOR is something that really matters a lot when you get interviews or also in the process of getting interviews. So try to have that personal connection with your program director or the faculty you are doing your electives with. Try to make sure that they know you well as a person and they write something personalized about you in the letter of recommendation rather than having a very generic LOR. Because in certain interviews that I received, they did mention that you had really good LORs. And as I had waived my rights to see, I did not know what they wrote about me. But I'm really, really glad that I had that kind of connection with the faculty that I was working with. So make sure that when you are having a rotation or an elective, you are interacting with the faculty well. You are trying to show not only your knowledge, but also talk a bit about yourself so that they know you better. And the last mistake that a lot of IMGs they make is not using opportunities to connect with other programs, connecting with program directors. So what you can do is you can attend conferences, you can attend meet and greet sessions where there are like virtual open houses as well, where there are program directors who come in, they share their inputs. So attending conferences like AAFP, then attending AMC conference, RP conference, or something where there is a good chance to meet new people for networking purpose as well. So that can also increase your chances of meeting new people and learning about the program, their values, and their. So I think these are some mistakes that I think I also made, and then I try to work on those mistakes. And I'm really glad that Sarthi helped me a lot in this process, especially for my personal statement review. That really helped me, and that helped me get more interviews as well. I would like to thank Pawan sir and everyone associated.
Thank you, Amrita. Appreciate your time and insights for the other IMGs in this season. So I appreciate it. Thank you. And let's move on. And I think I did promise you, and now he is here. We do have Dr. Akondi, who is a program director, internal medicine. You can see him on the screen. He is very busy, so we'll make it very quick. But thank you, sir, for joining us. And like all IMGs, the students who are going to be applying next season are very curious to get a program director perspective. How do IMGs match? What do program directors look for? What can they do? So, you've been doing this for so many years. If you can introduce yourself a bit and then talk to us about how can IMGs match?
Of course. Good morning. Thank you so much for that. I'm Alex Akandi. I have been in graduate medical education for many years now. I don't like to admit it, but it has been a while. I have worked for Georgetown, for HCA, for a number of organizations, all in graduate medical education and research capacity. So I'm an international graduate myself, as you can probably tell from my accent. So I'm pretty familiar with all of this. I'm pretty passionate about this. One misconception that I think people have is that, there are not enough opportunities for IMGs and they cannot get in and there are difficulties. And I don't think that's true. If you want a position, you will get it. You can get it and you will get it. It's just a matter of putting effort into it. Now, if you don't put effort into it, yes, you will not get an opportunity. But if you put enough effort, I know of pretty much no one who hasn't been matched. By effort, I mean, you have to have good USMLE scores, obviously. If you have failed each step 3 times, that's not the best start, so that you didn't put enough effort on the USMLEs, right? Still, there is a chance. Even for that, there are possibilities. But, if you put the effort, pass the first time, good get good grades. That's a good start. Then you will start with other things. You have to get to know the system and the culture. This is probably more important than anything else. I know a lot of people that I see have great medical knowledge. They are like ranking high. The USMLE scores are 260s, 270s. They are amazing. They know the medicine. However, that's one part of it, right? You are staying in America, you are living in America, you will be doing graduate medical education in America. You have to know the culture, you have to know the language. And by language, I mean you need to be fluent, right? Fluent at a level of somebody who has a university degree here in this country, not just basic conversational skills. You have to try to modify your accent to make it understandable, right? So it's not always possible to completely get rid of it. Maybe we don't even want to completely get rid of it, but it should be something that everybody can comprehend and they can converse with you efficiently and effectively. Then there is a matter of working in an institution, right? So when somebody works in my program, does research, does rotations, come and go, I see that the research is good, the effort is there, he or she is consistent. That says a whole lot. My program coordinator will get to know that person. The faculty will get to know that person. So that's really different when we evaluate the profile of someone with that background versus somebody who has applied from us and we don't know him. Because, an unknown is an unknown. And something that's known is always more, familiar. Might not be fair, but, that's usually how it is. So definitely do rotations. Definitely get to know people. Do research. Many programs, including my own, every program I have been program director for, research was a big part of it. And I mean, you have to do 2-3 PMID publication before even you graduate. So it's not easy, but it's expected from the resident. It certainly shows a strength if you do it before residency, because then we don't need to teach you. You already know how the process works, so you can do more research. Research is amazing. I like it. I know some people don't like it. It's some people are into clinical. Nothing is wrong with that. But the importance of it is that when you do 1 or 2 research, then you see how it works. And then when you are reading research in journals and progress of medicine, you know what to look for. What is good, what is not good, what's probably going to be accepted later, what is not going to be accepted later. So if somebody does research with me, that's a huge bonus. I have people in the programs that, have been, the USMLE scores aren't the best, but they have done a lot of research with me and eventually they are in. So they are doing it now. So all these things are important. Get to know the culture and the language, do rotations, see how hospital work, do clinical observation, clinical hands-on practice, do your research, and you will get in. So I can promise you that. I apologize that I wasn't here earlier, but I don't know what topics we have talked about. Is there a specific topic that you want me to mention right now?
Well, I think if you could, and before I ask you the questions, for those of you who are interested, Dr. Akhondi has agreed to have our students rotate with him as well as get some research experience. So if you are interested, send us an email or look up on our website. And maybe Kuheli, you can also send that link if they want to rotate with Dr. Akhondi or do research. So, Dr. Akhondi, one question before I let you go is about importance of letters of recommendation. So, as a program director, as you review the LORs, how much weight do you put on the letters?
A lot. And that is because that's familiarity, right? As I said, some people have good scores, but who knows? We remember a few years ago, there was this whole episode about a center in a country that had the scores and people scored very highly when they didn't really have the knowledge. It was just a matter of cheating, unfortunately, or irregular behavior, I should say. So sometimes even the scores aren't important. But when I see a letter, this is someone that has worked with that person. And that says a whole lot about that person, especially if that comes from a program director, from a chair of department. That carries a lot of weight. People are nice and they try to always be supportive. So usually the recommendation letters are good. However, we have our own code way of communicating and writing the letters. So when I read the recommendation letter from a program director, I know exactly and specifically what he or she means. So you want to be extra good, extra careful, and ask somebody to write your recommendation letter that you think they know you very well and you have done a really good job when you were with them. That's really important. Don't be afraid to go after the program directors and chair departments, but you have to also be vigilant and do a lot of work into it, because I have seen, I don't know, hundreds of medical students, hundreds of residents in my lifetime. So I have seen some people who are exceptionally brilliant. So there is a bar that you have to meet, but if you meet that and it is doable, it's just a matter of putting the effort, then recommendation letter will be good and it will immensely help your cause.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kondi. Much appreciate your time. I know you're very busy, but thank you for taking time out and helping our IMDs.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's move on. And if there are other questions for Dr. Kondi, I just sent you an email. Please email us and we will try to get an answer. We will hopefully get him for other webinars as well. So now let's move on to our next speaker, who's Mehak Marwaha, and he's going to talk about networking. I mean, he's done a very good job in the current season with a lot of interviews. So he knows quite a bit about networking. So Mehak, over to you, and maybe don't give them all your secrets, but some of the secrets. And yes, I have not forgotten. I apologize. Chetna will be after Mehak. So Chetna, my apologies. I kind of skipped you over, but we'll get to you. Yes, Mehak.
Thank you so much, Pavan sir, seriously, for those words and the whole Sarthi team. Because coming from zero interviews last season to a significant number this season could not have been possible without you guys, honestly. And I would definitely like to basically give a talk about two things mainly. One would be LinkedIn, and second would be cold emailing, because that have both of these things have really been a game changer for me this season, especially LinkedIn. I would really request everyone to basically make their digital image visible to like all of the selection committee, all of the program committee. By which I mean, go on LinkedIn, try to put up whatever your vision, whatever your goals and mission is, basically, so that everyone knows that you are doing outreach, you are doing camps, or you are doing volunteer service in the community. I know some people are like me, they are introverted and not able to share much information without being asked, but you have to be visible to the people here, and that's why you have to have a digital image of about yourself. And that, in addition to the obvious, LinkedIn is very good in basically making connections. Reach out to the program faculty, program coordinators, and even some of the program directors are very helpful there, because a lot of my rotations this season were also through the contacts that I made on LinkedIn as well. And that's how LinkedIn is like quite beneficial and quite pivotal in the role. And please make your digital image very visible to everyone. And the second thing I would really like to hone in is networking in the terms of cold emailing. Everyone emails the program coordinators, the administrative staff. Sure, do that. But also, please reach out to the program faculty because they sometimes are there to, they sometimes have opportunities in the terms of research, in the terms of shadowing directly with them, and you basically can get in very lucky with them if you reach out to them. But like very a corollary in that, make the email very very specific to each of the faculty and whomsoever you are trying to talk, because you should be like quite interested. You should be reflective that you have read about the person's work and the person's piece of research or whatever the zone of interest you are in right now. You should be like tailoring that email and tailoring that request according to that. So these two things have really been quite motivating for me and quite game changing for me, I would say. And I would definitely love to answer further questions if anyone has regarding that.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mehak. So if you have questions for Mehak, he's been a serial networker. So ask that in the chat. But yes, you cannot underestimate his suggestions of being a professional, I would say professional networker. This journey will need you to network, as some of the other speakers have also said. Get to know others professionally. Don't be shy of touting your own horn. I mean, this is important in this country. You cannot be shy. You cannot assume that people will come to know you just because of your scores. No, this networking is a very integral part in this country. How you articulate your skills, experience to others, whether it's LinkedIn, verbal communication, written communication, get in the habit. A lot of IMGs find it very hard, and which is okay. We all come from the same background, and in some of our cultures, this is not a done thing. How can I talk about myself and all of that? But self promotion is very legitimate. There's nothing wrong in it, so might as well start it. So how do you get started in networking? One of the questions that I'm seeing, there are various tips and tricks. So LinkedIn is one way to do it. A lot of students do it. You can actually start with your local temple, gurdwara, mosque, wherever you go. I mean, if you are in this country, a lot of opportunities to meet others. In fact, Arundhati is here as well. I mean, whether it's even local school teachers, who knows who can help you, and you can refine your pitch as well. So there are a lot of things you can do, but maybe we'll get to this later today. If you have specific questions, just put it in the chat, and maybe Mehak, you can answer in terms of LinkedIn and some of the other things. So I do want to go back. I did a mistake, like I said earlier. Dr. Chetna Rajesh, our student, who's also going into the match, and again had a number of interviews, and she is going to be our next speaker. So Chetna, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself and then take it away?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. So, I'm Chetna. I'm a pediatrics applicant in the current math cycle. And I did see a lot of questions pop up about low step 2 scores, 235 to 30 to 20s. So, I would like to answer all of you. Basically, I have a low step 2 score as well. And the day I got my score report, I I had this period when I thought that I should reevaluate my journey or whether or not I should continue on this journey. But I think, like all the panelists said, the first thing you need to know about this journey is that it is a commitment in terms of both time and efforts, and just a single setback, which maybe in terms of scores, is not necessarily going to deter you from getting a residency position in the US. with respect to application, everyone has a niche. Not everyone is a good researcher. Not everyone has a lot of time or opportunity. Like panelists have said, life happens. You may not be able to go to the US for a long time or as much time as you want. You may not be able to get the rotations that you want, but you have to make the best out of opportunities and find your niche. Is it research? Is it clinical experience? Is it a research position that you've had? Do you have extensive volunteering experience? And evaluate your application as an overall in an overall sense, not just a linear sense. So I was also asked to talk about a little bit about the mistakes that IMGs make in applications, but I think Amrita covered that beautifully. What I would say though is that it is a mistake to be limited by your step 2 score if it did not meet your expectations. I think, it is important to reevaluate your entire journey, but you need to think about the next steps of your application, not whether or not you need to continue on this journey. Because if you are really set on getting a residency position, then nothing is going to stop you from getting that opportunity. And I've been fortunate enough that even with a low step 2 score, I feel like I have been able to secure a decent amount of interviews. So it is definitely not the end of your journey. The second thing I was asked to talk about is focusing on a single specialty. So this happened to me too, because after my step 2 score, was always leaning towards pediatrics, but I did consider applying to family medicine or internal medicine as backup specialties to increase my chances of matching, to have a more comprehensive application, or to cast a wider net. But I think the time I spent in the US during my rotations strengthened my interest in pediatrics, and also talking to people there, including residents, mentors there, made me realize that focusing on a single specialty and focusing on pediatrics, where my real interest lies, is the way to go. And I think I was able to align my application better once I decided to make that commitment to a single specialty. You can align your volunteering, your clinical experience better if you choose to commit fully to a single specialty. And I think the NRMP data, if you go through it, it shows that if you rank contiguous programs in the same specialty, you have a higher chance of making it um, to a residency position. And I'm really thankful to Sarthi for all the help that Sarthi has given me, especially with respect to interview prep. A lot of discussions and a lot of the videos that Sarthi has done has really helped me anticipate the questions that, have been asked in interviews. And I think the mock interview really helps you get your thoughts in order and, uh, highlights which part of the experience you want to talk about during the interview. And yeah, so Sarthi has really helped me a lot with the interview season.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chetna. Appreciate your time. And if there are questions, please in the chat, when you put the question, put it to everyone. If you put it to only hosts or panelists, not everyone can see the question, so we may also miss it. So put the questions for everyone. And those, the panelists who are still here, can probably answer. So before I move on, I do want to mention, and Kuheli and Aditi, maybe you can put the link. We do have an open Telegram group that you can all join. Of course, there is Instagram and our YouTube channel. A lot of our videos do go on YouTube. So Kuheli, if you can send that link out, and those of you who want to just follow us on one of those channels, it'll be quite useful to you in your journey. So both our Instagram, YouTube, and even the Telegram group, the open Telegram group. I think Aditi is putting the link to the Telegram group, so you can enroll there or join there. A lot of blogs, so she has put up all the links. I do want to tell you, because otherwise they'll be remiss. So there are a lot of early bird discounts and offers that you can avail of from our team right here on this page. And again, maybe Kuheli, you can put the link to this page. So those of you who are planning to start your journey now, go to this page, get in touch with us, and probably on rotations, research, and match, you can see a lot of discounts. So just in case you are interested. So let me also, again, please don't put questions for host, put it for everyone, but I will try to answer this. If I have a observership for anesthesia, will it help me for internal medicine? Ideally, you should only go for IM specific hands-on experiences. But if this is something you have already committed to, you know, in anesthesia, I think 1 month should be okay. But remember, you cannot change your ERAS profile, right? Once you have it. So if you show the anesthesia rotation and you're applying for internal medicine, obviously programs can have questions on why you are doing it for anesthesia. As an old graduate of 2017, is it wise to begin USMLE journey? Well, I mean, like I said, YOG is just a soft filter. You may have done home country residency or fellowship. You may have been practicing. You may get a high score. So, old YOG does have its disadvantages, but that is not a deal breaker. You can actually do quite well even as an old YOG. Idea of ideal step 2 CK score, it depends on the specialty. NRMP publishes the averages. So you can see if you're a visa seeking applicant in internal medicine, for example, I think average nowadays is 245 or something. So just keep that in mind, but there are different specialties needing different scores as just some kind of a indicator. So now what I want to do, because a lot of you had this question, so I am very glad to have Dr. Abhishek Gaikwad. Now, he has a very, very different profile. He has extensive experience in home country, which is India, residency, fellowship, etc. He has matched directly into a heart failure fellowship. So I know a lot of you have questions about fellowship match and all of that. So, but I want to give it to him to introduce himself, and then Abhishek, you can take it from there. A lot of people have been waiting for you.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Myself, Dr. Abhishek Gaikwad. I'm an interventional cardiologist in India. My year of graduation is 2009. Then I did internal medicine 3 years, then cardiology 3 years. Then I was in private practice for last 8 years. So initially I started the UK pathway, then there were some hurdles in the step 3. So there was a lot of backlog in getting the slots. So I started the USMLE journey. So it took bit less time as compared to UK. But I didn't had my homework about my US. I was not accustomed to the system and all. So I wanted that, okay, I should hire an agency who can at least guide me because this is very important. If you don't know the system, then just swimming randomly doesn't help. And a professional help definitely guides you. So I remember my talk with Pawan. So I just randomly booked this to see how it works. So I was not planning to apply for the match even this time. So I told this to Pawan that I'm thinking of the match next year. He said, no, at least you give it a try. So I had no idea whether if you don't get matched to in one cycle? Does it affect the next cycle? The Telegram group help in that way. And so even Pavan guided me that I can try about some fellowships and all. So he suggested geriatric fellowship and all. So at least to get in the system. So what he told important is to get into the system. Only when you are into the system, you can make your path. So then I tried to Google things. What are there any familiar things like related things to cardiology in terms of fellowship? So because I thought jumping directly into geriatric can be a different thing, and it may impact mentally my journey as a cardiologist and something. So then I found out, okay, what are the competitive fellowships, what are the non-competitive fellowships? And yes, because I did my 8, 9 years in India, so I was financially decent enough to try for things. So I tried for everything possible. I applied for the IM match. I also applied for the cardiology fellowship match. I applied for the intervention cardiology match. I applied for the heart failure fellowship match. So at least to get an experience how it works, because my wife was also on the same path. She was wanting to do for a IM match. So then Paman said to go to US for 3 months at least to do a rotation and things like that. But my wife was having a step to in next few months. She said you cannot go this time. So Paman said at least do some tele rotations. So I said, okay, let's try. Let's have some at least something rather than nothing. So I did 3 tele rotations from here in India. So I got 4 USLORs, and it was just not USLORs. I also got to know how it works, and even the mentors who were there in my LORs, they are still in touch with me. One of them messaged me about a month back. How are you? How are you doing? Have you got matched? So that is something surprising, because generally we don't expect them to come back to us. And he messaged me, if you need any help, I'm there. If you want some context and all, because few of them were Indians, and few are open-minded. So that things can really work up. One of them also gave me a contact of a cardiologist whom I can contact and find out ways. So only after diving in this pathway, I got to know, okay, there are some other pathways, like there's an alternate pathway of certification and things like that. So I thought, okay, let's try. And about the networking things, I got to know here only that you have to reach out to the people. So I started a bit early, because initially I was just targeting one institute which had a non-ACGME fellowship. I had no idea what is match. I had no idea what is fellowship match. So the starting early helped me. The tele rotations early helped me, and then I sent emails at a time when there was not much rush to the programs, so they were quite free to answer me, and it was good to see that I mailed them, and within half an hour or 1 hour, I used to get a reply. So that was very encouraging, because I mailed to about 80 programs of heart failure. I mailed to about 120 programs of intervention. And to get back a reply, it told, yes, I'm on the right track and I should continue, because we were not used to writing emails, 200, 300 emails, and that to a personalized email. We cannot just copy forward and or attach the emails of all the program directors and just send it randomly. So that was a unique experience, to sit all night and to send the emails, keep a track. I made Excel sheet who has given a positive reply, who has given a negative reply, and even one example was I reached out to a program. They said yes, but during applying, I just saw the criteria. I thought, okay, I don't fit to it. I didn't apply, and I got an email back from the program director saying, "Hey, hi, you contacted me a month back, but I don't see your application." So I was shocked to see program director emailing me back that I'm not seeing your application. So I just mailed him back, sorry, sir, there was some confusion. I'm just applying now. And I also got an interview from the uh, uh, same program. So things are different in US. You need to know what it is, how it works, what are the minimum basics that are required. What is a YOG? What is a decent score? If okay, if one strategy doesn't work, what should be the second backup strategy, or what should be the third plan of action. This is very important. Okay, my score wasn't that great, so I knew I would be facing challenges in getting IM residency or something like that. So I thought, okay, let's try for the. So I got about 7 interviews, heart failure interviews, and so it was a good experience. Uh, any other questions, if you have, I'm open to answer.
Yes. So, yes, as Abhishek said, he took a different path, direct fellowship match, but it is not easy and this is not for everyone. You really need to have that background or that residency. But if you have it, then if you play smart, you can do it. Right. So a lot of things can be achieved depending on your profile, and not everyone has the same path. This is the other thing about USMLE. You can choose your own path. A lot of you will go directly into residency. Some of you may go into that limited license path. Some of you will go into this fellowship path and maybe then come into residency. So US allows you that flexibility. And again, if you really need to know what you are eligible for, I encourage you to set up time with us, because each profile is different. And Kuheli, maybe again set up that send that link for a profile review. And of course, if you have questions, put it in the chat. And if any of the panelists, they are busy, but if they are around, they will answer. Otherwise, we'll take it up next time. All right. So what I wanted to do next was Dr. Rahul Singla. Again, very, very prolific. He's been a very committed student, and with a lot of interviews this season. So I wanted to invite him to talk about his journey, his experiences, and then share some of that with you. So welcome, Rahul, and maybe talk about how to build strong ERA CV, personal statement, challenges in some of those issues.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan sir, for having me. It's my pleasure to be here today. So before talking about how to build a strong personal statement, I will just introduce like what is personal statement and how it affects your journey. So personal statement is basically a piece of a document which you submit to the program where you basically tell about yourself, about your qualities and why you are choosing this specialty. And I would say that it's a piece of document that really matters a lot. See it from a from a PD perspective. They have your personal statement, they are having your ERA CV, and it's very difficult to study all your ERA CV. So just a piece of document would tell them about your personality, about your interest in the specialty, about your qualities, like what qualities you bear. So, and I would say that lot of IMGs are like just focus on the steps, like step one, step two, and step three, and it ultimately leads to very less time for the personal statement. So I would say that I have from my personal experience, I have set up 5 points like which I believe will help you make a very strong personal statement. So the first one is let you have to start writing it very early, and because if you are starting it writing very late or in the mid September or in the early September, you will not have that much of time to discuss it with your colleagues or with your mentors, and that might not be able to explain your true character or true qualities. Secondly, I would say that have a good opening hook. So by what I mean by saying a good opening hook is that when you are writing the first line of the paragraph, try to make it very engaging. If I am if some if a PD is reading your personal statement, they should be like they it should make them grasp your personal statement by just seeing the first line. So may try to have it a good opening hook which will make them read your personal statement. Thirdly, I would say that make sure that your personal statement has a good story. Make sure that that story it has, it truly depicts who you are, what qualities you have, and what type of like what do you bring to the program, what skill set you are bringing to the program, and make sure that they are like completely in flow with each other, like the first paragraph, the second paragraph, and the third paragraph. Fourthly, so every applicant some like have some kind of a red flag in their application. Like some have an old year of graduation, or some have a low step two scores, or maybe multiple attempts in step one or step two. So always try to address your red flag in your personal statement. Like if you have a red flag of like low step 2 scores, try to address them. Like why did you have the low step 2 scores, or what you did to improve it. Like if you got a low good step 3 score, that try to mention it in in your personal statement. And last thing I would say that for in terms of personal statement, the last paragraph of the personal statement, make sure that you read the program very well. It's a very good technique. If you are applying to if you are applying to a program, just go to the search about the program, the mission of the program, and then just address it, like how you will be able to fulfill in their mission, and how you will be able to contribute in their mission. This is a very proven technique of applying. And also I would like to share you that now in this match cycle, the person statement, you can even bold the name of the program you are applying. So this kind of a small effort makes the program like makes in their eyes, they will it will make you a very favorable candidate. Okay, that you have gone through their mission, you have specifically applying to their program. So this will really make your chances of getting interviews a lot. So this is about the person statement. I will just summarize it. Try to start early. Like don't start it in the September. If you are applying in next match in this match cycle, try to start it by the July. Like not more than later than July. Secondly, have a good opening hook. Try to make it engaging so that anyone who reads it is influenced to read it further. Like it should not be seen like okay, it is losing its interest. Try to see it as a movie. If you are going to watch a movie, if you are not enjoying the first like the opening scene or the first half of the movie, then there is chances that they not might read your the second half of, or the whole of the personal statement. So try to make it very engaging, and try to address all the red flags. And lastly, have a good last paragraph which specifically talks about the program's mission and how you will be able to contribute it. And nextly, talking about the ERA CV, I would say that the ERA CV has 10 experiences. So if you if so as an internal medicine applicant, or so for example, if you're talking about an internal medicine as an application, so try to have all your experiences in the teaching section, in the research section, in the volunteer section, and in the clinical experiences. Like don't be just focused on applying all the clinical experience in your application, like no research, no volunteer. Have try to have a holistic skill set. Secondly, I would say that this was something that was based upon my like where I did my rotation. So they gave me a feedback that try to have the experience in your home country also, because they doesn't only want your US clinical experience. Like some, like if there is an older applicant, he tries to have like he have if he someone has 9 months of US clinical experience, they try to put all the 9 months of experience in their ERA CV. So the program doesn't like this. They also want to see your how much of experience you have in your home country. They want to see like they doesn't want to look like it's a something that you are making up only doing in the US and you are not having it in India. So try to have a balance of both the experiences of of the home country and the US clinical experience. Last and thirdly, I would say that if you for example are applying in family medicine, so try to pick the aspect of the family medicine that will that you can put in the ERA CV. So family medicine strongly likes the volunteer work. So try to have a good solid core volunteer experience. Don't be just like only the clinical experience, but do have a volunteer experience, and where you are attending the conferences, that will make your application very strong. And so whosoever would be applying this match cycle, I would suggest one thing to make your ERA CV more stronger is like if you are applying for, like for example, an internal medicine residency, try to get a inpatient experience where you can work along in a resident teaching hospital. Like it's very difficult to get that experience, but if you are like able to get that experience, it would be very beneficial for you. Like it would be something that will speak very strong in your application. Like I was very lucky to get like a US 5 months of externship experience in a resident teaching hospital. So it was very useful because I was able to understand all the like the system of the US healthcare system, care residency, how the residents are given feedback, or how the system actually works for the residents. And then I would say that and next thing about so if you are writing about the Indian experience you have worked in, try to not confuse the PDs by, like sometimes you are mentioning the medical officer or sometimes your medical junior resident. Just be consistent, make it very understandable so that it helps them be consistent with your roles, because sometimes you have done something really very good or very core in your qualities, but it is not able to be readable or understandable by the PTs. And and other thing is that when you were mentioning about the ERA CV has two other section, about the meaningful section, about the three meaningful experience and one impactful experience. So when you are writing about the meaningful experience, generally try to choose that experience which you believe that if the PD is only seeing that experiences, they should be convinced. Like don't choose like choose them very wisely. They should be some that experiences which really matters you, or which explains your journey very well. So and also while choosing the meaningful experience, make sure that you choose one Indian experience, because it is from my perspective that you should choose one Indian experience and two US clinical experiences. And then while mentioning the hobbies, so ERA's CV has a section of hobbies. So I would suggest that whenever you are mentioning your hobbies in the application, make sure that your hobbies should be something that where you have a teamwork spirit, where you like for example like working, playing in a badminton or cricket, where you are having a team spirit. And also make sure that you're in while mentioning the hobbies, you're also type of mentioning your growth. Like if you are if someone is a swimmer or an athlete, try to show them your achievements in the goal in the hobbies. It's not only in the form of that you have achieved a medal, but also in the terms of how you are growing your interest in the hobbies and how they are trying to help you in providing burnout. Because because when you will be having your interviews, they will discuss about your hobbies. Like I had one interviews where they like have a 10-minute discussion about my hobbies, how I am growing in my hobbies. So make sure that you write about your hobbies very well. Like don't just like try to show a spirit of cooking, a spirit of teamwork, leadership, or growth in your hobbies. And then comes the section of research. So this is something that I would like to share with you. First of all, if you have time, try to get your articles, like if it possible, try to get them published. Like rather than just be on the submitted portion, try to get them published before the September deadline comes, because it will make, it's just a small things, but this makes a difference. Second thing is try to be in the research articles as a like a first, second, or third author, like not beyond that, because that really like programs nowadays I believe that have been they try to see your role in the research, and they I believe that they doesn't like if you are like beyond third author, because it seems like you were not very active in doing the research. And lastly, I would say that don't lie anything on the ERA CV, because they really ask you about your ERA CV. They would be like they whenever you will be having your interview, the PD would have opened the ERA CV, and he would and it would be the whole interview would be on the basis of ERA CV. I would like to share with you an example. Like when I did a mock session with Pavan sir, and I was expecting to that he would ask me about like very generic questions, like what about how teamwork, your strengths, why this program. But like he opened my CV, and he was like asked a lot of questions from my CV. And at that time, after my interview, I went, I thoroughly read about my CV very well, like what I have written. Because the thing is that you write your CV in the month of September, and you like starts interviewing on in like most of interviews in November. So like you have to be very well versed with each and every line of your ERA CV, like every each and like it should make a difference in your ERA CV. Whenever you are explaining your clinical experience, you just don't write that I was involved in patient history taking, and you have time, try to get a core clinical experience. It's the right time to get that, and show it in your ERA CV. So that's all I have.
Well, thank you, Rahul. Very, very extensively explained, and I hope you can all take advantage of his tips as well, because ERA CV and personal statement, as you will come to know, is very important, not only for a review perspective, but also from an interviewing perspective. So, thank you. And moving on, I think Roshni Pradeep is here. So she recently matched, she is now, for all practical purposes, an Arizona native. She's been in Arizona for her residency. She matched into a fellowship in Arizona as well. So welcome, Roshni, and the floor is all yours.
Hi, Pavan sir, and rest of the Sarthi team. Thank you for inviting me to get my views on residency slash fellowship match. So I think I'm going to talk about letter of recommendations, as I understand. So a couple of things I have learned through my journey, which I wanted to share. First thing, while I talk about letter of recommendation, even before going into the letter writing part, I had to go back to the rotations, like to choose the rotations where you want to get a letter of recommendations wisely. And choosing the rotation is not enough. Like it involves a lot of effort when it comes to showing up before time. When you're attending, rotate the rounds start at 9 o'clock, maybe be there at 7 and do your pre-rounding, get more information on the patient, be there before the attending, and stay there till your attending is there, or never leave before your attending or the senior residents leave. Try to ask intelligible questions during rounds, try to be involved more when they are doing rounds, and contribute to research, or ask them if there are opportunities, actively engage with the resident group, with the attendings on projects, work on it. So these are like the prerequisites, I think, before even asking for a letter from any attending for that matter. So I think that being the first step, choosing the letter writers wisely, I think is one of the most important step, being that if we are having 6-7 rotations, maximum letters we can use is 4. So we have to choose the letter writers wisely. I think, like Dr. Singla said, the one most important step being that choosing somebody from your home country. If you are from another place other than the US, maybe choose somebody who's worked with you for many years, who can write a good letter, who knows you as a person and is willing to write a good letter. So that's important. And when it comes to US clinical experiences, it is important to choose letter writers who are maybe in a university setting, a bigger setting, where the letters might value more, given that if you're applying to that specific university, they might know each other. For all you know, the program director might personally recognize people who wrote your letter or affiliated to a university, and things like that, I think takes precedence. And in terms of that, like if you work with the assistant professor more closely than a professor and they know you better, I would prefer getting it from that assistant professor who actually personally worked with you. You worked on some research project with them, so that they can mention all these in your letter, so that it looks even more appealing for a person who's trying to recruit you. And another thing will be, you should personally approach your letter writer before you ask for a letter, and make more than asking in emails or text messages about, I want a letter, I'm applying this year. We need to personally approach the letter writer, though they are busy. Find a time, stay late, go early, whatever works for them, and tell about your goals, as what you want to do, what you want to achieve, or what is it you're looking for, and who you are as a person, and what you have done so far, so that they understand you well, so that when they write a letter, they remember you as a person, and will be able to add those points. And many of our letter writers might ask you for, send me a draft, or like what do you think are your qualities which you want me to add in your letter, because they are going to have students every month, so they might not be able to write everything special about you just based on the 1 hour in all they spent with you. So it is important that you make up good points about yourself. Like when we shouldn't be very like just 2-3 points, like writing about ourselves and then expect them to give a good letter. It wouldn't work. So it is okay to boast about yourself in that draft which they're asking for. Tell, like, okay, what have you done? It's okay to say exactly what are the things you have achieved through your process of journey till now. There's nothing wrong in telling what you've done, honestly, in asking a letter, and how long you stayed during the rotation, what research you were part of, what presentations you've done. All these, I think, are important aspects of writing in that draft. And send a good CV of yourself, even if they don't ask for it, along with this draft, so that they can combine everything and maybe come up with a better letter than what they have as a a baseline letter for which they've designed for most students. And I think if the letter writer is well known or very busy person, it's hard that they'll remember you, and they'll be working on it every other day. So it is important to ask a letter much earlier in time, when, like, we shouldn't be asking. It should be at least a month or a month and a half even before you want the letter. I think you have to remind them, send ask them for a letter. And it's important to be humble. Like, even if you are doing a rotation, paying for the rotation, there's no requirement that any attending has to give you a letter. So it is important to perform well, be humble, and ask for letters in a respectful, courteous way. And it is important that you remind them if it's coming close to the deadline. Maybe a weekly reminder would do, like 2 or 3 weeks in advance if they've not got it yet. But we need to ask much before in time, like 1.5 months, 2 months in advance first, and then then you can say 2 weeks later, remind them. And respectfully reminding is important to make sure you do get the letters. Other than that, I think it is, like I said, the last point being, choose your letter writers wisely, and it is important to get them, get good letters, because from being a resident perspective and seeing how they recruit, everyone reads letters, because CV you write about yourself, personal statement you write about yourself, but in letters somebody else writes about you. And I think that is the most important part of recruiting somebody into a residency/fellowship program. So it is important that you get along with your attendings, perform well in the rotations, and try to get good letters. So that's pretty much what I got. I can answer some questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Roshni. And if there are questions, of course, feel free to put it in the chat. And I know you are quite busy, so if you can stay for a couple of minutes, that's fine.
Yep.
Otherwise, we'll direct the questions to you. All right, I do see Dr. Arshi Sana there. So before I come to her, a couple of things I did want to announce. So one is the ambassador program. So many of you have been asking us. So yes, we do have a campus ambassador or an ambassador program that we can help you and you can help us. So if you go to our website, Sarthi, usmlesarthi.com/ambassador, and maybe Kuheli or Aditi, you can post this link. You can go on this page and read all about our ambassador program, how to join us, and how we can help you. So that's that. The other thing which I think Rahul and some of the other speakers had mentioned about inpatient rotation. So we do have a lot of inpatient rotations. They are under brand name of Clinica. If you go there at top university hospitals that you can actually rotate inpatients. Most of them are AMG programs, but that does not mean that you don't get an LOR. So very strong LORs, good experience. Read about these these university rotations, and if you're interested, you can obviously, there are links here that you can use. So inpatient rotations, if you are interested, go there. And meanwhile, yes, Dr. Arshi Sana is here. She's been helping students from, again, number of years, and very glad you can make it here, Arshi. Appreciate your time, and why don't you introduce yourself and take it away?
Thank you so much for inviting me, Pawan. Hi, everyone. My name is Arshi Sana. I'm a resident physician at the University of Kentucky in pathology, and I'm currently in my 4th year and have been a Sarthi student and also a panelist for a few years now. Today, I'm very excited to share some of the insights that I have on the interview preparation strategies for the residency programs. But we'll start by discussing the commonly asked questions by the program directors. So these are the questions that are very important, that they help you understand what the interviewers are actually looking for and how you can best present yourself. Before we jump into the specific questions that the program directors commonly ask, let's just understand why these questions are very important. The program directors usually use these questions to get a sense of who you are beyond your application, basically. They have seen your CV and they have read your personal statement, and since they like you, that's why they're inviting you to the interview now. So now they want to see who you are beyond your application. So they want to see how you think on your feet, how you handle the pressure, and how well you fit into their program's culture. So think of these questions like an opportunity to showcase your strengths, experiences, and personality. And it's not just about giving the right answer, but also being genuine and be reflective of yourself. Right. So the most commonly asked questions by the program directors are like, tell me about yourself. That's like one of the common questions. This is your chance to just give a brief elevator pitch of your background or experiences and what led to pursue the specialty. And obviously you have to keep it concise and relevant to the question. And then some of the other questions like, what are your strengths and weaknesses? So just for this question, be honest, but also be strategic, okay? So you need to just highlight the strengths that are relevant to the residency and show that self-awareness by discussing how what are your weaknesses along with the steps that you're taking to improve it. And then why you're interested in that particular specialty. And then why are you interested in their program? So do your homework for sure. Mention specific aspects of that program. Also, like, for example, during the interview, the program director or somebody will give you a presentation about the program. Make sure that you're alert during that presentation and note down any questions that you might have. So they might talk about something that's not written on their website. So those are some of the things that you can note down and ask the questions whenever they ask you Do you have any questions for me, and things like that. So show that you have done your research. And some other questions like, what are you looking for in the program? Or are you prepared for the rigors of residency? Tell me about your research experiences, if you have any on the CV, and then what leadership roles you have had so far, and explain those. So the next question they might ask you is like, what do you do in your spare time? The reason behind that is like they're seeing how well-rounded of a person or an individual you are. So share your hobbies and interests that are outside of the medicine. So that will help the interviewers to see you as a well-rounded individual, right? And then where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years is one other common question that they'll ask you. So you can just share your long-term career goals or how this residency will help you achieve them. So just be realistic and also be ambitious. They want to see what you are, like, whether you are a person who plans everything ahead of time or have something. Obviously, everything will not go according to how you plan, but they want to see what you're thinking, like in the next 5 to 10 years, what you want to do and where do you see yourself in the future. And then the next question will be like, what do you think you can contribute to this program? So talk about your unique skills and experiences and also the perspectives that you can bring to the program. So then why they should choose you, right? So summarize your like strengths or experiences or what makes you a great fit to that program, basically. Be confident, but also be humble at the same time. And what questions do you have for me is one of the like questions. Obviously, some of the interviews will go, for example, in my residency program interviews or even fellowship interviews I've had, the common question was like, what questions do you have for me? That's a basic thing that they will definitely ask you this. So just be well prepared. Always have some few thoughtful questions prepared for yourself. And this shows that you're genuinely interested in that program and also helps you like, gather some important information too. That will help you during the rank list and all. So now that we have covered all these common questions that you might face during the residency interviews, let's just see how you can best prepare for these interviews, not just like in person, but also the virtual setup. Like preparation is the key for sure to make a great impression, right? There are specific strategies that you can use to ensure that you're ready for both the formats. So let's first start by discussing the tips for the virtual interviews, and then because they are becoming increasingly common, and even for fellowships right now, I think a lot of interviews are still virtual. And then we'll move on to the preparation tips for in-person interviews. So first, for the virtual interviews, so basically have a strong internet connection, make sure that your internet is stable. And for example, like if the Wi-Fi is slow or something, just try to find, maybe book ahead of time a library or something like a place where you can have a secure, good internet Wi-Fi connection. That's most important. And then obviously good equipment. Do not use the phones or anything like that. So just try to have a computer with a good webcam and a microphone, and silence all the notifications to avoid any interruptions or distractions. And obviously practice makes it perfect, right? So practice with the friends or family or whoever you can, just to make sure that you're practicing your answers well. But also make sure that while you're answering the questions, don't be robotic or just try to answer in a natural way. Although you have practiced and rehearsed, don't come out like as if you have, you're regurgitating something. Just try to be natural. And for the virtual ones, especially practice, like record yourself by checking your position, eye contact, and sound quality ahead of time. And note all the setup that you have practiced it and try to recreate the same on the interview day. Do not experiment on that day. Try to choose a private, quiet, and well-lit space. Basically, avoid the bright lights behind you, or ensure that your face has like it's well lit, basically. And obviously, keep your background clean, or try to use a virtual background if needed. Of course, dressing professionally is very important. Be well rested, and double check your microphones and camera. And when you're in the virtual setup, obviously you cannot, when you are looking into the camera, that's when you know that you're looking into the eye of the other person. Like eye contact is very important. I've seen a lot of times my own mentees and whenever I'm doing the mock interviews, I see that a lot of people lag behind with this thing. Like camera at the eye level is very important. So that kind of gives you an impression that you're talking to the person looking into their eye. So make sure that you have that set up and practice it. It might be weird, but then practicing is all that makes the difference. And then shut down all the other programs to avoid the distractions, even on the computer. And then keep your device obviously charged and have a backup plan just in case if there are any technical issues. Of course, since a lot of virtual interviews are happening on the Zoom, just get comfortable with the software, try to log in early, and they will obviously communicate with your program director, will communicate before the interviews. They give you the whole interview itinerary ahead of time. So you can take breaks per itinerary and to just stretch or walk and just be, just relax a little bit and then come back. So if you're in a group setting or something like that, just mute your mic when you're not speaking and focus on the interviewer. So that's very important as well. And for example, for next just in-person interview tips, all these things, just practicing, of course, and then you have to research about the program, know about the program's mission, values, or recent achievements, anything that you can. Of course, travel arrangements should be planned ahead and accommodation as well in advance. Of course, be ready to discuss your CV, everything in detail. Anything that you have written on your CV or personal statement is a fair game. They can ask you any questions on that. Also keep physical copies of them ready with you, just in case if somebody asks you your CV or personal statement, you will have them ready with you. So, and also prepare for the common interview questions, have thoughtful questions ready for the program, and then, of course, choose clean, ironed, and well-fitting professional clothing. And also sometimes, like if you are going there one day ahead of time, plan your route, like just look into where is the interview going to be held, or which, just the location, just become familiar with it and aim to arrive as early as possible if you're going in person. And then obviously a day ahead of time, you have to get a good night's sleep before the interview, have good balanced meals to keep your energy levels up. And try to bring a small notepad or a pen or something like that, just in case if you need to write down some important information, or so that you can have something ready with you. So even for later communication purposes, you might write down a very customized email or a letter to the program or the attendings, whoever you have interviewed with, so that you have some notes with you. And of course, you have to stay calm and confident, take deep breaths, stay positive, and enjoy the day. So now that we have covered all of that, so let's see how Sarthi can actually help you support throughout this entire process. I have been a student of Sarthi, and I've really thought that this, Sarthi has this interview preparation course that really is really helpful. It has like these 4 main categories that it's divided into very strategically, like preparing for the basic interview questions, behavioral questions, medical interview questions, and also you have some advanced interview questions too. So basically, they offer a lot of classes that cover everything, like from the basics of the interview prep to what to do after the interview. And you will learn how to prepare for the big day, understand the key interview strategies, and also get the tips on communication and best behavior practices. For behavioral questions, of course, you will master how to read your audience or how to answer the tough questions. These are the things that you can really, really, hone in on and get a plenty of practice to make sure that you're ready for the big day. Medical interview questions are some of the things that are like US healthcare systems or EMRs or any medical questions, case presentations, etc. And advanced interview questions such as you will get you can customize your answers and get feedback from both faculty and peers as well. So those are some of the things that Sarthi can offer. And I personally feel like I have benefited a lot, and I really enjoyed Dr. Tan's classes. She's amazing. And to this day, I really admire her. She has a lot of knowledge, and I respect everything that she says. I take it seriously, for sure. And if you want to take a step further, Sarthi also offers mock interviews based on your membership plans. For example, like the Platinum package that has 4 personalized one-on-one mock interviews with the residents or attendings via Zoom, and you have like complete comprehensive feedback that can boost your confidence as well. And Pawan can tell you further about those in detail, or even their website has a really good information about all of this if you want to learn. But that is all I have for today. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you, Pawan, for having me.
Well, thank you very much, Arshi. And as you can all see, Arshi is very passionate about helping IMGs. She's been herself going through residency and then fellowship, and also she knows quite a bit about the entire process. So thank you. And if you have questions, put in the chat. Now, before we wrap up, I just wanted to, summarize everything and, give you a sense of the resources, both free and otherwise. So I'll just end by pointing to our website right here, because if you can go to this website, and I'll show you. So start here with resources. So it's about our ambassador program, a lot of blogs, a lot of all links to our social media. To start here. Then, of course, if you are interested in any of our plans, platinum, gold, bronze, the match plans are here. Rotations that I just showed you are also here. Then you can also go into, a lot of research options that we have. We spoke about the transitional or temporary license, without working without residency. So that information is here. A lot of offers and discounts, upcoming events. This was just a webinar that we had. We'll have more webinars for you. Go and look at the match results, especially if you are an older graduate. That'll give you a sense of what you need to do, right? And of course, contact us. You can set up a profile review. You can see other information. All is here. So if you just go through the website, you'll get a sense of everything that Arshi and others have spoken about in terms of any free resources, profile reviews, and things like that. And with that, I think we are coming to an end of this webinar. Hopefully, you all enjoyed it. And thank you very much to all my panelists. I know it was a long day, but thank you for your time and giving back to the IMG community. Those of you who are still there, Sridevi, Mehak, Rahul, Arshi, Arundhati, Abhishek, Raymond, thank you all. And hopefully the other applicants can follow in your footsteps and be successful. So thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you in the next weekend or next webinar. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope that video provided valuable insights for your journey. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And check out our website for details on how we can guide you to a successful match.